Is a fetus considered to be alive?
Yes.
Sunday morning Kailul. Welcome to everyone. So this is it's always a relevant topic, a halachic topic, perhaps also a philosophical topic, a discussion on what is life. It's also related to this week's parsha. Rivkah has a storm going on in her stomach. And she's perplexed, confused, can't understand why she's suffering so. And she went to find out what's going on. So where did she go? She didn't go to ask her husband Yitzchak, she didn't ask her Shver Avraham. As Chazal say, she went to Shem, who was the elder of the generation. In some medrashim, in Medrash Seichel Tov, it says that she dafka wanted to go to the elder of the generation. Shem was hundreds of years older than Avram, so she wanted to get the oldest rabbi that she could find. And B'pashtus, you would say she didn't want to go to her husband or her shver, although they were prophets, because she didn't want them to be, because it's Yitzchak's wife or Avram's daughter-in-law, they would be pained by knowing what she's going through. Specifically, if she did think that perhaps inside her stomach there's a child destined to be a Rasha, she definitely did not want that information being known to her husband or her shver, just pain them. She wanted to ask somebody random. Well, her elter say the Beseder, but it's so many generations between her and Shem, right? It's a little bit, almost 500 or something. So she went to Shem, and Shem told her the news. There's really 2 kids, etc. Because she thought it was one kid. They say the Baalei Musar like to say she thought it was one kid who couldn't make up his mind. Does he want to go to when she went past the Beis Medrash, he was kicking to come out. Past the Beis Avodah Zarah, he was kicking to come out. If it's one kid, he doesn't know what he wants. She was told, no, there's 2 kids, and each one knows exactly what they want.
She felt 2 heartbeats.
The Reb Simcha Bunim of Pshischa asked, Yaakov kicked in order to come out and go to the Beis Medrash. The Gemara says in Niddah that during pregnancy, a malach is teaching the baby, the fetus, the entire Torah. A malach! Well, that's not good enough, so Yaakov I need to go into the Beis Medrash. He's learning regardless. So the Simcha Bunim said that being in yeshiva is not just about the shiurim and the learning. It's about your friends. It's about your chaveda. It's about who you're with. It's true in the stomach, Yaakov had the best teacher. He had a malach teaching him. The learning was great, but who was his chavrusa? It was Esav. Yaakov wanted to go into the Beis Medrash, not because it's better shiurim necessarily, even though I'm sure Shem and Aver gave great shiurim, but he wanted the ambiance of the Beis. He wanted the chavedim. That's what Reb Simcha Bunim said. And I saw actually that Reb Velvel of the Briskerov, is quoted saying the same thing. It's not just about who's giving the shiurim and the level of learning. It's who you're with. It's the whole atmosphere of the Beis Medrash. Fine. Comes Reb Chaim Paltiel. Okay, Reb Chaim Paltiel was one of the Rishonim in France in the 1200s. He has a Pirush on Chumash that was printed a couple decades ago from manuscript. He has a student, maybe is more famous than him, the Paneach Roza, a great commentary on Chumash, is frequently quoted in the Rebbe Sichos. The Paneach Roza's name was Yitzchak ben Yehuda. Yitzchak is Gematria 208, as is Paneach and as is Roza. Both of those are all 208. And anyway, the Paneach Roza was a student, and he often quotes from his Rebbe, Reb Paltiel, Reb Chaim Paltiel. He was a very dedicated student of his Rebbe, and his Rebbe's commentary was published a couple decades ago. Reb Chaim Paltiel says, you know what Rivkah was doing when she came to Shem? If you look in Unklis, it says on that she went Lidrosh Hashem, to seek out Hashem. So we learn it means she went to the prophet to get guidance, as the prophet is the pipeline, the gateway to heaven. Unklis says she went lemitva ulfan. Lidreish ches Hashem doesn't mean to look for God. It means to ask a halachic shaila, to seek out teaching. Lemitva ulfan, to be tevet, to seek out teaching. He says she had a shaila. She wanted an abortion. That's what Reb Chaim Paltiel says. The pain was so much, she wanted to abort. And that's why she didn't go to Yitzchak or Avram. They wouldn't be so quick to allow her to abort, because for Yitzchak it's his child, for Avram it's his grandchild. She thought that even if halachically she would be allowed to abort, Avram wouldn't give her the okay because he doesn't want to lose his potential grandchild. So she went to Shem, and her shaila was, am I allowed to abort? It's very painful. And Shem encouraged her to hold on to the babies. That's how he learns the story. It was pasha the shaila of abortion, and what was Rivkah's basis to assume it would be okay? Because the pain was intense. So that's incredible, because this question comes up all the time, that we're going to see throughout the Shiur Mitzvah Shem about how serious, and the different angles and different opinions. I'm not going to be telling you what I think, because the poskim will speak for themselves, but it's going to be very interesting to see the background, the sources, and the different shittas. But everyone agrees it's a serious issue. It's a serious issue, and unfortunately, there are times where there may be room for a woman to go ahead with an abortion. Obviously, it depends on how far along she is as well, and what the reason is. You know, sometimes is the mother's life in jeopardy, is in danger, often not, but there's a pain and suffering which may be connected to having the child. If God forbid someone's going to be having a very sick child, and there'll be tremendous pain both for the child and for the mother and the entire family. Well, you see from this story, Rivkah had a shaila based on pain. She was physically suffering. She wanted an abortion, but Shem told her no. The question was Shem telling her, this is the law, you can't, or he was just encouraging her, even though you could, please hold on to the baby because there's so much future. That would be a shaila of how to learn what was Shem's response. There happens to be an interpretation that's quoted from the Brisker Rav, from the Velvel of Brisk. Now I have his sefer at home on Chumash. I didn't, and it's not there, but I've seen people quote it, so it must be that it's been passed on orally. That the Brisker Rav says like this: in Medrash Rabbah on the pasuk Vayisroitzitzu habonim bekirba, that the kids were Vayisroitzitzu. It says the Vayisroitzitzu means rots. They were running. Each one was trying to kill the other one. In the stomach, Yankov and Esav, you think they were busy learning with the Malach? They were wrestling to the death. Each one wanted to kill the other one. So here's the thing. We're going to see that for a Jew to carry out an abortion, whether it's the mother or anyone, and if you kill a fetus, anyone that kills a fetus, it's not a capital crime. You don't get killed for it. Whereas a goy does. It's a machlokes in the Tanoim, but we're going to see we paskin like Rabbi Shmuel that a goy is held liable. It's a capital crime for a goy to carry out an abortion. It's Rabbi Shmuel's opinion. The Rambam paskins we'll see in a moment. So says the Brisker Rav, let's assume Yaakov was a Jew. Let's assume Esav was a ben Noach, was a goy, halachically a goy. So when Esav's trying to kill Yaakov, Esav is involved in murder, because for a goy, abortion's murder. Which means Esav is halachically a Rodef, he's trying to carry out a murder. We know the law is if someone's running to kill somebody, if somebody's on the verge of carrying out murder, you're allowed to knock off the potential killer. Whereas Yaakov was not involved in murder. Yaakov is, as a Yid, for a Yid, abortion is not a capital crime. So Yaakov is not halachically a Rodef, but Esav is. So she wanted to know, could she get abortion for Esav? He learns Rivkah knew she had 2 kids. And she wanted to know, could she abort Esav? Because Esav is more of a Rodef than Yaakov. Because Esav, as a guy, for a guy, abortion is regular murder, so he's a Rodef. For Yaakov's a Jew, so for a Jew, abortion is not, at least it's not full-fledged murder. We're going to talk about that. At least not to the point that you get killed for it. So maybe Yaakov's not considered a Rodef, but Esav is. What was Shem's response? Shnei goyim bevitnech. While they're in your stomach, they're both equal footing. You can't divide Yaakov the Jew, Esav's a goy. Mimei ayich yiparedu. Only when they leave the stomach are they going to go on their own separate paths. But while they're in the stomach, Shnei goyim, they're equal. So you can't choose one over the other. From your stomach, they separate. Now, it sounds like the Brisker Rov is saying, once they were born, then Yaakov is a Jew and Esav's a goy. The Gemara says in Kedushin Daf Yud Ches very clearly that Esav was a Yisrael Mumer, halakhically a Jew who was just completely left the fold. The Gemara there is talking about if a goy biblically inherits his father. And the Gemara says, yeah, well, Esav inherited his whole land because of the land that Hashem promised to Avram. The land that Esav has, Har Seir, the land of Edom, was part of what Hashem promised to Avram. So you see, a goy inherits, says the Gemara. That's not a raya. Esav was a Yisrael Mumer. He was halachically a Jew. The Ramban uses that Gemara to prove that Ramban in Parshas Emer has a major debate between him and the French Chachamim. The French Chachamim believe until the year 2448, there was no such thing as a halachic Jew. You had the Abrahamic nation, but halachic Jew began by Matan Torah. And the Ramban says no. When Avram had the bris, from that point on, there was the halachic status of a Jew. And the Ramban marshals this Gemara in Kedushin to prove that if Esav is considered an outcast Jew, but a Jew, that means, and the Gemara is using it halachically, that maybe he inherits, but a regular guy doesn't. You see, the Gemara is clearly entertaining and putting on the table the idea that the halachic status of a Jew existed before. The Mishnah Lamelech in his famous sefer, the Proshas Drochim, Pulpulim on Tanakh, he quotes this Ramban in the Gemara and he said it seems to be an ironclad proof that the Jews already had the halachic status way back when. So that means, so I'm not sure how the Brisker Rov learns the pasuk Mimei ayich yiparedu. While they're in your stomach, they're all equal footing. They only become unbalanced that Yaakov becomes the Jew, Esav not, from Mimei ayich, from the stomach. The Chor that Gemara would say not like that. But either way, that was how the Brisker Rov learned the story. So again, it was a shaila about abortion. According to Chaim Paltiel, she thought she had one kid, and the pain was so much, she probably wanted to abort because of the pain. According to the Brisker Rov, it was a whole lomdish shaila. She wanted to abort Esav before Esav kills the other fetus, namely Yaakov. So you have a couple ways of spinning the story. Either way, it's a shaila about abortion. So what is the deal when it comes to a fetus? Is a fetus considered halachically alive? And it relates to a number of issues. Today we're specifically going to talk about terminating the pregnancy, but it's negay a number of things. Surrogate motherhood. If you have one woman who donates the egg for the child, the egg donor, and another woman carries the baby to term, who is the mother? Who are the true siblings of the child that's born? If he wants to marry Ichves, his half-sister, who's considered his biblical sisters? In order to be Jewish, which one of the mothers have to be Jewish? Is it the birthing mother? Is it the mother of conception, provides the egg? Is it both? We discussed once the famous Chassam Sofer who says that this was a debate between the Shvatim. This is just an introduction, and then we're going to go right through. Don't worry. The Chassam Sofer says that if you notice, Reuven and Yehuda do everything they can to save Yosef. Shimon and Levi, they're the ones who want to kill him. Let's go kill him. Shimon and Levi. When it comes to saving Dinah, we don't hear anything from Reuven and Yehuda. Who are the ones that are going on Mesidus Nefesh, literally endangering their lives to kill a whole city to save their sisters? Shimon and Levi. Reuven, Yehuda, you see nothing. How do you explain that? So the Chassam Sofer says, if you look in the Targum Yonis and Ben Uziel, it says that when Leah was expecting her seventh son, and Rachel was expecting a girl, if Leah would have 7 boys, Bilhah and Zilpah both had 2 boys each, totals 11, they knew there's only going to be 12. So that means Rachel will only have 1, she'll be even less than the maidservants. So Leah davened and something happened. According to the Gemara, what happened is the boy Leah was going to have literally changed in utero to become a girl. According to the Targum Yonason, it's an incredible miracle. The baby inside Leah's womb transferred to Rachel's womb, and the girl Rachel had transferred to Leah's womb. And then they were born. So the question is, who's the real mother of Yosef and who's the real mother of Dinah? The mother that conceived them, the egg mother, or the mother of birth, of Leda? So says Chassam Sofer, that was a debate of the Shvatim. You see, because when it comes to a guy, a half sibling is only significant if you share the mother, not if you only share the father. A guy is allowed to marry his half sister if they just share a father, like Avram said to Avimelech in Parshas Vayera. So says the Chassam Sofer like this: Reuven and Yehuda would do everything for Yosef, because Yosef was conceived by their mother. You're our brother. Dinah was born by Leah, but she was conceived by Rachel. So they said, we don't share the mother. We're only half sisters from the father. I don't know you. For Yosef, they'll do everything. Shimon and Levi said, Fakert, you follow the birth. Dinah was born by Leah. She's our sister. Yosef was born by Rachel. Different mother. We don't know him. He's a stranger. Now, this question, though, about who's the real mother is without question related to what we mentioned before. Is a fetus considered alive, or life only begins by birth? If a fetus is considered alive, it means in the mother's stomach, this fetus is living, it's fully alive, it's just, it's getting free room and board in the mother's stomach. It's just hanging out in a certain location. It's like a bedroom. What's the difference if a kid locked grounded in their bedroom and can't come out for a week, or a baby in the mother's stomach? It's just located there. So and birth is just, just going from point A to point B. If that's how you look at it, then definitely the mother of conception is the mother. She's the one that created this baby into an entity. The birthing mother is just, helping him go from one location to another. But if you say a fetus is not considered alive, life only begins by birth, so then it's the birthing mother that supplies that life. She basically creates the kid. You would think that's the mother. This also relates to the very question of, in order for a child to be Jewish, which parent has to be Jewish? There's a number of options. One option is you follow the father, just like by Goyim, the identity of the child, which nation the child's from, follows the father. So too by a Jew. Rav Asi in Yevamos holds that way. You follow the father. Another option, which is the halach in Shulchan Aruch, is you follow the mother. It's just the mother. Another option is maybe either or. Maybe as long as one parent is Jewish, the kid's Jewish. That would be similar to Rav Asi. The father works or the mother works. Or maybe you need both to be Jewish. Maybe both have to be Jewish, and that is an opinion as well. That is the opinion, in fact, from some of the poskim the last couple hundred years, a famous letter from the Nesivos HaMishpat. There's a number of opinions. Rabbi Ovadia Yosef even brings up that opinion in a letter, that maybe both parents have to be Jewish. When I was in Tannersville in the country, upstate New York, this past summer, so I merited to have a conversation with Rav Hershel Shechter about a number of these matters. And he told me that when Rabbi Ovadia Yosef brought up this opinion, he says the Rav Soloveitchik, was highly distressed that Rabbi Ovadia is even bringing on the table the opinion you have to follow both parents. Rabbi Soloveitchik said, we have a psak in Shulchan Aruch that the mother's enough, and that's it. Why are you opening a can of worms? That's, and in every area of halacha you're going to find extreme opinions on different sides. But there's the halacha, and once that's the halacha, that's the way it is, and the buck stops there. So either way, that very question, I think, is very much dependent on this shaila as well. If a fetus is not considered alive until birth, that means that birth is giving life to the kid, is creating the kid. Only the mother is involved in the birth. The father's completely out of the picture. The father's gone. In fact, the Rambam writes in the Moreh Nevuchim, why does the father have the mitzvah of milah and not the mother? And why is it so soon to birth? It's on the 8th day. So the Rambam says the father doesn't feel so attached to the kid, barely knows the kid. So I'll cut. If I have to cut, I'll cut. A mother wouldn't be able to bring herself to do that. She's so connected to the child. Why do you cut the child? It's too much to ask. The father barely knows the kid. It's like a stranger to him. And for the same reason, he's only the 8th day. If you're going to add, when it's 1 year old, by then the father's attached to the kid. So the Eibush Dafka chose a time. Now, before 8 days is too early. The Rambam says the birth process continues almost for a week after the birth. It's only the 8th day. That's the earliest opportunity that you're able to do it. And for the father, the kid's like a stranger. So that's when the Eibush gives the mitzvah. Right?
But on the flip side, inheritance comes from the father, and the education of the child, especially if it's a boy, comes from the father.
The chinuch from the father, all from the father.
Yeah, both from
Yeah,
the
but
father.
the love comes from the mother.
Correct.
The father says learn, but the Gemara said it's the mother who really makes it happen. She encourages the kid.
That's what I'm referring to. He inherits. So
Yes.
he inherits Judaism, being Jewish.
Right. Okay, that's Ravasi. Okay,
That's what I'm saying.
you inherit money. You inherit.
No, inherits the promise, Abraham's promise.
Yeah, maybe that comes from the mother. Maybe that comes from the mother. So the reason to say it comes from the mother, if existence begins at birth, it's the mother that provides that. At that point, the father's completely out of the picture. But if the fetus is considered truly alive already in utero,
Right.
so then there's already room to say who put that kid inside the mother's stomach. It was the father. So if the kid's considered alive in the stomach, then there's room to say that its identity is already formed then, and it's already alive, so it already has its identity, Jew or not Jew. And at that point you could say the father is very much involved in creating that. He placed that inside the stomach. And there's room to say that maybe its identity would be hinged on the identity of the father. And then you could hear Rav Asi say what he says, or those that say you need both. But if you say the baby's only alive from birth, you really hear a ringing endorsement to the opinion that it's just dependent on the mother, because the mother's the only one that's involved in that act. She is giving life at the moment of birth. The father's b'chlal out of the picture. Anyhow, one more thing it related to, this we had a shiur in a couple of years ago, I'm not going to repeat it, but the famous story in Vilna 250 years ago. There was a guy who got married, wife conceived, he divorces her. 3 weeks later, or a month later, he marries a second woman. She conceives right away as well. And the second woman carried a baby only for 7 months. She gives birth. A month later, the first wife, who's divorced, gives birth. So the one that was born later was actually first conceived. Who gets the double portion from the father's possessions? And the Vilna Gaon paskind, it's the one that was conceived first, even though he was born later. It follows conception. And we said the Shoyal Umeshiv asks from this week's Parsha by Yaakov and Esav. Rashi brings the mashal of the tube to say that the one that comes out later was actually conceived first. And yet Yaakov had to buy the firstbornhood from Esav. So you see, you don't follow conception, you follow... We gave a whole shiur about that. But that Shiloh of the Vilna Gaon is also very much the Shiloh as well. If life only begins at birth, then why in the world would you say the one that was conceived first is the Bechar? But if life begins in utero, then the one that was conceived first could be the Bechar. It's very much dependent on that question as well. Okay, after all these introductions, we begin. Number one is a Gemara in Erchin Daf Zayin. Ha'isha, a woman sheyatzo lehareg. This is a Mishnah. If a woman is being violated a capital crime, she was judged and found guilty, she's being taken out to be killed. Ein mamtinin lo ad sheteled. She's expecting. In 2 weeks she's having a baby. Too bad. We kill her and the baby. However, ha'isha sheyoshva ala mashper, but if she is sitting on the birthing bed, and Treifa says it's the same case. She's being taken out to be killed, and all of a sudden, it's not happening in 2 weeks. She goes into labor. Then, mamtinin lo ad sheteled, we wait until she gives birth. Why? The Gemara will say in a moment. Then the Mishnah says, ha'isha shenerga, when a woman is killed, nen in basari, you're allowed to have benefit from her hair. The Gemara says refers to a sheitel, not if it's part of her, because you can't have any benefit from a dead body. But if her sheitel, you can go chap her sheitel. Behema shenerga, when a behema is killed, for example, if an animal killed somebody, it gets killed, asura ba'anar, it's forbidden to have any benefit from that animal. Okay. Says the Gemara about the halacha that if the woman is pregnant and she needs to be killed, you don't wait 3 weeks. Says the Gemara pshit, it's obvious you don't wait. There's a din called you can't be ma'anu, you can't afflict judgment. Once a verdict is given, it needs to be carried out ASAP. Says the Gemara, no. Well, so the Gemara says pshit, it's obvious, gufa, it's part of her body. The baby is part of her body. Just like when you kill her, she loses her life from her arms, her legs, and her head, and every limb of her body. The baby is just another limb of her body. So why wouldn't you kill? Why? The baby is just another limb of her body. That's all it is. So says, or as it's known, uber yerech imay, the fetus is the thigh of the mother. So says the Gemara, itztrich, no. I'll tell you the chiddush. I would have thought, since the pasuk says if two people are in a fight and one guy gives a dead blow, but he misses his friend, and instead he knocks into a woman carrying a baby, and she miscarries because of the blow. Kasha yoshis olav ba'alo isha, that her husband will sue him, the assailant, the attacker, for the money of the mamoina de balu, which means who owns the fetus? Not the pregnant woman, her husband. He has monetary rights to that fetus. So you would think maybe in this case you can't kill the woman. Because when Bezin will execute her, her hands are hers, the feet are hers, but the baby belongs to the husband. So Veloy lifted the minoi, we shouldn't make him lose. So Kamash Malon, that's the Chiddush of the Mishnah one.
So that proves that father has to be the Jewish one.
In this case, it's a Jewish father. The aim is, it says, the aim hachinami, maybe taka. Why taka are you allowed to kill the woman and the fetus? It's not hers. Says the Gemara, Amar Rabbi Vo, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. The pasuk says, by adulterers, u'meisu gam shnehem. They both have to die. L'rabis, that's including the vlad, the baby. Says the Gemara, b'vahaymi boilad shushnein shavin divrei Rabbi Yoshia. Rabbi Yoshia holds though that we need u'meisu gam shnehem. See, meisu means they should die. You already know it means the adulterer and the adulteress. But I need the gam shnehem to come, according to Rabbi Yoshia. They both, only if one dies does the other die. If one of them is off the hook, the other one's off the hook. They have to die as a team. So I need gam shneim for that. Says the Gemara, no, you have gam and you have shneim. Ki karmas migam. Rabbi Yoshia learned to din from shneim. The word gam also is coming to add the fetus. So that's how we know that you kill the fetus as well. Says the Gemara, if Yoshva ala mashber, once she sits on the birthing stool, you can't kill her. Why? My timer. Kiven da'akar gufa acharinuhu. Once the baby has jolted from its place and it's starting, the labor has begun, it's a new body. It's not part of the mother. So the Gemara seems to be saying until the baby moves, it's another limb. It's uber yerechim. It's part of the mother's body. The shai liza punkt belongs to the father, fine, but it's still just another limb of the mother's body. And the says the Gemara, but once labor has begun, it's a new body. It's a new guf. Okay, that Gemara is critical. Another Gemara, number 2, in Sanhedrin. Ashkach Rav Yankiv Baracha da'ava kosiv b'sefer agada to debei Rav. Rav Yankiv Baracha was in the yeshiva of Rav, and he found a manuscript which had said the following: Ben noyach a goy nereg b'dayan echad. A goy could be killed with one judge, be'ed echad with one witness, shaloi b'hasro without being warned. If a goy violates one of his 7 mitzvahs, he will get killed. He could be judged by one person. There only needs to be one witness. He doesn't have to be warned either. There's also a debate between the Rambam and the Sefer HaChinuch. The Sefer HaChinuch holds a guy can be killed from his own admittance. From the story that in the beginning of Shmuel Beis, when David HaMelech kills a guy who, the son of the Amaleki Ger, who confessed and admitted to killing Shaul. And David says, "Picha Anabach, your mouth has you've brought about your own demise via your own confession and admission." The Sefer HaChinuch learns from there a guy could be killed on his own confession. The Rambam disagrees. The Rambam holds that story was a hero. Sure, David as a king was able to implement king privileges, but it's not standard halacha. So there's a debate. The Rambam holds there has to be one witness. But either way, says the Gemara, in the manuscript it says, "Mipi ish v'lo mipi isha," the one witness can't be a woman, but it could be even a karev, a relative. So there are many stringencies by a goy. None of these are true by a Jew. A Jew can't be a relative. You need to be warned. You need to have two witnesses. There needs to be more than one judge, right? Mishum Rabbi Shmuel Amru, but Rabbi Shmuel said, "Afalu born." A guy gets killed for abortion. Minani mili. How do we know these things? Amar Rav Yehuda said, "Rav Yehuda come across." Hashem told Noach, "Aches dimchem l'nafshosechem edresh." Your blood for your souls I will seek. Afilu b'dayin echad. The Eibusha speaks in the singular to teach that even if it's one person being derish, one judge. It says miyad kol chaya. We learn out from there afilu shaloi basra, even if you weren't born. Okay, let's just do this quick because going through each one and how we learn it out is not our thing for today. But edreshenu umiyad ha'adam, I will seek him from the hand of one man afilu be'edech, or even one witness. Miyad ish v'lo miyad isha, the witness has to be a male, not a woman. It says achiv afilu, even a relative. But then mishum Rabbi Shmuel amru afalo born, even for the fetus. My time at Rabbi Shmuel dichsiv, because in that same parasha, Parashas Noach, Hashem says shoifich dam ha'adam ba'adam dama yishafich. If someone spills the blood of man in man, his blood will be spilled. What does it mean, a man inside a man? Ezehu adam shubad. What's a man inside a man? Have a oimer ze uba shebeme'ima. It's a fetus in the mother's stomach. Shoifich dam ha'adam ba'adam. If you spill the blood of a man in a man, dama yishafich. And the Rambam paskins like Rabbi Shmuel. Either the Gemara says clearly the Tanakama disagrees and holds they're not killed for abortion. The halacha follows Rabbi Shmuel. One.
Why does it use Isha, Adam? Adam refers to a woman?
How do we learn not a Isha?
No, why wouldn't it say Isha?
Person and Isha, not an
woman was. Why Adam?
Lashon Zachar.
Why does it say Adam? Okay. Well, because the pasuk means a few things. The pasuk has a number of interpretations. It means shoifich dam ha'adam, if you spill the blood of man. Ba'adam means in the attacker, dama yishafich. That's a simple reading of the pasuk. There's other. The Chacham Tzvi learns from the pasuk. It's only if you spill the blood of a man that was created in a man. If something was created outside of a woman's stomach, he says for goylam, for example, it's not murder to kill them. Anyhow, either way, there's a number of things we learn from that pasuk. Fine. So that's the fact. A goy is killed. It's murder for a goy to commit abortion. In join me number 5 for a second. Sorry, so at number 5, it's a Mishnah in Nida. A Mishnah in Nida, Daf Mem Daled. It's talking about halachas of a Jew in relation to a baby 1 day old. V'hahar goy chayiv. The Mishnah says if you kill a 1 day old baby, you're chayiv. Says the Gemara number 5, Dichsiv, the pasuk says the isha man kiyaka kol nefesh. If a man kills kol nefesh, mikol makom, no matter what. Meaning kol nefesh means as long as the baby's alive. I don't care if it's if you killed an 80-year-old, a 13-year-old, a 5-year-old, or even a baby the day he was born. The Mishnah says even a tinik ben yoma, even if his mom is born that day. Says the Gemara, why? The ish kiyaka kol nefesh. No matter what, as long as the person's alive. Oh, but wait a second. The Mishnah said it's only if the baby's born. A fetus, you're potter. We learn it out because the Mishnah says only if the baby's born. Mashma clearly, if it's still in the mother's stomach, you're not chayiv. But what about the pasuk v'ish kiyaka kol nefesh? You're going to have to say that before the baby's born, it's not considered a nefesh. The Rambam, the Rashba, many Rishonim on Nida write that clearly. Before the baby's born, it's not a nefesh. If it was, in this pasuk of kiyaka kol nefesh means no matter what would include a fetus. But the Gemara only uses it as far, the extreme we go is to a baby the day it's born. Mashma, until that point, it's not a nefesh. We see that even clearer in number 3 and number 4. Number 3 is a Gemara in Sanhedrin. Anyone that studies the sugi of abortion has to know this shtickle Gemara. Says the Gemara in Sanhedrin number 3. The Gemara is talking about the dinim of a Rodef. The Gemara discusses a baby. It's quoting a Mishnah from Oyelus. The Mishnah in Oyelus says, if a woman is having difficulty giving birth, then you can stick your hand in and dismember the baby in order to save the mother, if the mother's life is in jeopardy. You're allowed to kill the baby to save the mother. However, Yotza Rosh number 3, the Gemara in Sanhedrin, Ayin Beis, is quoting this Mishnah in Oyelus. Once the head exits, Ein noigin, but you can't touch the baby. Lefi, because she'ein doichin nefesh mipnei nefesh. You can't push away one soul for another. Again, let's get the Mishnah clear. Before the head comes out, you're allowed to kill the child to save the mother. Once the head comes out, you can't touch him, because why should you kill the baby to save the mother? Ein doichin nefesh mipnei nefesh. You can't kill one to save another. And as Rava says, the svara is, who said one person's blood is redder than the others? If a guy says, kill Yankel Shmerel, I'll kill you, you can't kill Yankel Shmerel to save yourself. What, you're going to play God and decide that your life's more important than your friend's? Who said your blood's redder? Maybe his blood is redder. Now that's when you decide between yourself and somebody else. But so too when you have to decide between two other people. How could you choose one person over another? How could you choose the baby over the mother? Who said the mother's blood is redder? I mean, how could you choose to kill the baby? Who said, Ein doichin nefesh mipnei nefesh? You can't push away one to save the other. So the Gemara asks, Va'amai, but why Rodefu? The baby is, we're talking about the head came out, but the mother is in jeopardy. Isn't the child placing the mother's life on the line? He's a Rodef, kill the child. Says the Gemara, shiny Hossam, there it's different. Dumishamaya karodful, it comes from heaven. You think the baby's choosing to be a Rodef? This is the Eibishter doing it. It's not a Rodef. So the obvious question is, so then why before the baby's head comes out are you allowed to kill the baby? The Mishnah says two statements. Number one, if the head is in the stomach, you can kill the baby. Once the head comes out, you can't. When it's in the stomach, why are you allowed to? It's not a Rodef, this is the Eibishter. So look at Rashi number 4, Yatzar, this is Rashi in the Gemara there. Be'isha hamak shalelet, if a woman's having difficulty, umusukenes, and she's in danger. The Ketani ratio, the beginning of the Mishnah says, we're number 4, the first line. Hachaya, the midwife, sticks her hand in the chaytachta, and she can dismember the baby and take it out piece by piece. Says Rashi, D'chol's man shalo yatsa la'avir elam, as long as the baby has not seen the light of day, lav nefesh, it's not a nefesh. It's not a soul. V'nitin lahar, you could kill it or lahatzilim to save the mother. Ava, but once the head exits, ein noigim, but you can't touch lahar guy. The havla kill, because alive. Now he is a nefesh. And ein doichin nefesh, you can't kill one nefesh, mipnei nefesh. And it's not a Rodef like the Gemara says. Now, the list of Rashi has an interesting thing here, not related, but because it's here, we can't skip it. Rashi asks, what about the story of Sheva ben Bichri, who rebelled against David, and he took refuge in a city, and Yoav, David's general, surrounds the city, threatens to destroy the entire city unless they hand over Sheva, right? And they do. And Hine Roisha Mushlachei Lecha, they threw out Sheva's head to Yoav. Says Rashi, how? I thought Ein Doichin Nefesh Mipnei Nefesh. How could you give over one person to save others? So the Dochu Nefesh Mipnei, there, it's black and white. They gave over one to save others. So first of all, there was to save an entire city. It's not one for one, it's an entire city. But that's not what Rashi answers. Rashi says, good, that's the answer Rashi does good. Hasam Mishum, there it's a shayla of everyone dying plus Sheva, or just Sheva. So you're not killing him to save others. He was going to die anyways. Afilu loy masru, if they didn't give it to him, the whole, he would have been he would have been killed be'ir, kishi it's fesen Yoav. When Yoav would destroy the city, he would have killed him anyways. The hey neraganima, they would have all died. So Mela, it's a win. It's only a win-win to send him over. Aval im hayu hu nitzel, but if Sheva would have gone free, and they decided to kill him to save themselves, even though you have the many being killed, they wouldn't be allowed to give him over to save themselves. So Rashi Taka Bashkins, even one for many, you can't kill one to save many, unless that one would have been killed anyways in the many. That's a black and white Rashi, very interesting. Inami, another answer, he was married by Malchus Hava. Sheva deserved to die, because there was a reason that Yoav laid siege to the city. He had rebelled against David. So that could be the reason why they were allowed to give him over. And that's a whole different topic on its own. But Al Kapanim, Rashi, one?
He's a Rodef against the whole city.
But why is he a Rodef? Because someone wants to kill me.
Because he's putting everyone in danger.
Yeah, okay. You see, who asked him Bechal to come to that city? Yeah, that might be a svara. But the question is, let's say Sheva was being hunted down for no fault of his own. So if he takes refuge somewhere, because now he becomes a Rodef and they're allowed to kill him. Rashi says if Sheva would have had a way out of that city, an underground passageway, according to Rashi's first answer, they wouldn't have been allowed to kill him, even though he's the one that created the danger for the city. Anyhow, it's a sugya that needs to be studied on its own. But the fact is, Rashi says in the beginning, the baby's not a nefesh when it's in utero. Black and white. And like I said, many Rishonim say in the Gemara number 5 as well, that till the baby comes out, it's not a nefesh. So here's the thing. If the baby's not a nefesh, why does a guy get killed for abortion? It's not a nefesh. So you would say like this, a guy gets killed for any of his averis. A guy eats aver min achai, a guy steals. By a ben noyach, az horoson zui misosin, if they're told not to do something, it carries a capital crime. Rabbi Shmuel learned from a pasuk, dama adam ba'adam, that you can't kill an uber, finished. It's not a nefesh, so it's not murder. Beseder. It doesn't have to be murder. By a guy, you could, but then what, is this like an 8th mitzvah? Or it's under the category of murder. It's under that general mitzvah of murder. It punkt isn't considered murder, but since the Torah prescribes it and forbids it, it carries a death penalty for a guy. Okay, maybe you'll have to say that. But it definitely explains why a Yid is potter. It's not murder. It's not murder. So what is it then? Okay, so join me. There's a Rambam. There's an incredible Rambam. In number 7. Actually, by the way, first join me in number 6. In number 6, this is a letter from the Noidib Yehuda. I have a few excerpts from it. Here's just a short piece. He quotes from the Sameh. The great Sameh. Gam Divrei, the Sameh, Sefer Me'ir Senam, the main commentary on Choshen Mishpat, together with the Shach. The Sameh, Rabbi Yeshua Falk Katz, was a great student of the Ramah and the Maharshal. He was one of the greatest Rabbonim in the end of the 1500s, early 1600s in Lvov. The Sameh writes like this. Look in the second line of number 6. He writes word for word like Rashi. Before the baby sees the light of day, it's not a nefesh. And the pasuk says, Ki yake nefesh ksiv, in order to be considered a murder, you have to kill a soul. V'hevi asmer raya, and the smer has his famous raya. It says in Pashas Mishpatim, 2 men are fighting, and we mentioned the case before. One of them goes for the big, for the big uppercut. He goes in for the dead blow, but he misses his friend. He bumps into a woman carrying a baby. There's a miscarriage. The husband will sue the assailant for paying for the baby. Mishalim dmei v'lodus, you pay the money. Miklal, that must mean she'ein chiyav misa olav. We have a rule. If someone does a crime that carries a death penalty, you don't pay money. Kom le b'dadaba minei. Once you're dealing with death, money is off the table. You can't get sued for both. And that means, even if you don't get the death penalty for whatever reason, but if it's considered a capital crime doesn't carry money. Reuven kills Shimon by mistake, right? So if it's certain times we'll go to an Ir Miklat, but there are many times you get out of having to go to Golus to the Ir Miklat. But you don't have to pay the inheritance. There is a discussion, but by Pashas, you don't have to pay any money to the inheritors. Because you're dealing with a capital crime, money's off the table. The Torah says clearly that when it comes to aborting a woman's, terminating one pregnancy, you have to pay. It must mean it's just considered money. It's a monetary issue. It's not a capital crime. So you have the smear going with that as well. Comes the Rambam in number 7. This is going to get very interesting. Says the Rambam in number 7. He says, first you should know like this. Echad ha'hoirigas hagadol oyes hakatan ben yoimai. Murder is whether you kill an adult or a one-day-old child, whether it's a male or a female. Harizeh neregal of the killer is killed, im harag bazadin if it was intentional. Oigoila, or he goes into exile if he killed accidentally. Vuhu, but that is shekalu loy chadashav. If the baby was born to full term, this is a Gemara Niddah that is quoting, which is also very important. Kalu loy chadashav means it's brought to full term. When a baby is brought to full term, and it's born, it's considered a viable child. Even on day one, it's a full-fledged human. If you kill it, you get killed. Avol noilad lepachas, if it's born less than 9 months, harihu kenefel, it's considered non-viable. Ad sheyisha shloishim, to wait 30 days. If the baby is premature, halacha says until 30 days passes, the fate of the child, the health of the child is unclear. It's unclear. And for 30 days, it's a suffix. If you kill a premature child within 30 days, you don't get killed. Because you don't know for sure it's a viable child. It could be it would have died, and that if it dies within 30 days when it's premature, that proves it was never a bar kayam, it was never able to survive, it was never a real human being. And you're potter. And you can never disprove that question. You can never remove all doubt until 30 days passes. Fine. Continues the Rambam, whether you kill a healthy person or a chayla anoitalamos or a guy on the verge of dying. Afilu haragas hagoysa, someone teetering between life and death, neregalav. Somebody's on a machine, a ventilator, right? And that's what he's talking about, pulling the plug. Pulling the plug is neregalav. Okay, and let's leave that for another time. But the simple reading is, even someone's teetering between life and death, it's murder. It's murder. The imaya goises bidayadam, but there's something called a goises. Someone's teetering between life and death due to what a human did to him. For example, he was beaten up until he's on the verge of dying. His goises bidayadam. Ha'hoirig, if you kill him, ain bezdin won't kill you. You see the Rambam says, bezdin won't kill you. You're a murderer, and you deserve to die, and God will kill you. He could have said Einoy Nerek. No, he says Bezdin won't kill you. You're off to you're off. You're lucky that you're off, but the Eibishter will make sure that he takes care of you. Ha'horigas Treifa. Treifa is someone who has an open mortal wound that they're going to die within 12 months. Is actually more lenient than a geisis. Even if the guy eats and drinks and is walking around, you're potter middenei adam if you kill him. Now everyone is becheskes that is complete. You don't assume if Reuven kills Shimon, Shimon was a treifa. Come on. You don't assume that. If Reuven kills Shimon, you kill Reuven, unless you know for sure that Shimon was a treifa, and the doctors attest to the fact that there's no way Shimon could have recovered, and he will die from it if something else won't kill him. So that's just the Rambam saying the dinim, 2 types of geises, the din of a treifa, and the din of a one-day-old baby. Pashas, Treifa has a mortal wound. There's a gaping hole inside of him that he's going to die from. No, Goises B'dayadim is that people beat him up until he's dying from his wounds. What?
Why is there a difference between the 2 Goises?
Why? That's a good shot. Why is there a difference? There's a lot of questions about a Goises. If a Kohen's allowed to be in the same room as a Goises. Some hold that a Goises B'dei Adam is mamish about to die, could be considered dead, that a Kohen has to leave the room. There's a well-known story that Reb Pinchas Bal Hafla, Reb Pinchas Horowitz, was extremely, extremely ill. And the Rambam, the Maggid of Mezrich told his students if they can get together and find a way to heal Reb Pinchas. So they got together, and the Alter Rebbe found a Rambam where it's mashma from that Rambam that a goisus is considered dead, and they paskin like this. They said apparently the Pinchas is a gzeira, he has to die. That's why he's so ill. He's reached to the point that he's mamish a goisus between life and death, and therefore he's halachically considered dead. So the gzeira was already fulfilled, and now he can recover. And Taka, Reb Pinchas recovered and he survived. There are a number of letters between the Rebbe and the Rav Rivkah, who was in St. Louis, about where is this Rambam. Is there taka such a Rambam that says this? Maybe it's a Rambam, maybe it's a Rashi. There was a whole back and forth. Anyway, but the Rebbe Rashabed mentions of this story that the Alter Rebbe saved the life of Reb Pinchas. And at some later point there was some friction. We don't know exactly what it was, but even though the Alter Rebbe had saved his life years before. And if there's lots of shilas about Goisus, let's leave that for now. The main Rambam I want to show you is number 8. Number 8! Comes the Rambam in number 8. Read carefully. Put your magnifying glass on. Lefich, he's talking about the laws of Rodef. It's in the first parak of Hilchas Tzeicha Shmiras Nefesh. Lefichach, the rabbis taught, a woman in labor, she maksha is having difficulty. Mutter lachte cha'urba b'me'eh. You're allowed to dismember the child who's not yet born, whether through medicine, whether through liquid, poison, bein biyad, whether manually, mipnei shehu karoidef achareo laharga. Because the fetus is being rodef after her. He's putting her life in jail, in the jail, in jeopardy. But im mishahoitzi roisha, once the head protrudes, ein noigim bo, you can't touch the child, because ein doichen nefesh mipnei nefesh, you can't kill one to save the other. V'zeu tivoi shalel, and this is the nature of the world. What does the Rambam mean, nature of the world? Obviously, when the Gemara says that the baby, this is from heaven, the Rambam is writing that this is natural. It's nature. And therefore the baby cannot be categorized as a roid of killing the mother. You can't kill the baby. But before the fetus exits the womb, why are you allowed to? The Rambam says, because he's a roid of. What? That's not the reason. Rashi said, the Shem said, in both cases, before the head protrudes and after, it's always natural. It's a natural birth process. You can never blame the baby. The difference is the baby considered a nefesh? You can't push away one nefesh for the other. When the baby's born, it's a nefesh. Before then, it's not a nefesh. That's what Rashi says. The Rambam says, no, it's a different reason. When the baby's inside, it's a rodef. What? How could it be a rodef inside? This is mishmaya, it's from heaven, it's nature of the world. Why doesn't he say beforehand you're allowed to? Because it's not a nefesh. Strangest Rambam. So look at number 9 is a note of Rabbi Akiva Eger. Here you will need not just your magnifying, you need a telescope for this one. In number 9, this is Rabbi Akiva Eger's footnotes on Mishnayos, on the Mishnah Masechta Oilis. He says, Tamu l'cha, I don't get it. Ha-ha-cha over here, lav mishum roidef asinan Allah. Before the baby exits the womb, exits the mother, the reason you're allowed to kill the baby is not because it's a roidef, because biyatza rubai ein noigim bay, because when most of the head is out, you don't kill the baby, because it's not a roidef. You know what the difference is before the head comes? Arkarcha chatam, because urbeloi nikra nefesh. In neither case it's a roidef. It's just before the head comes out, it's not a nefesh. Isn't that the reason? And then he says in brackets, ve'efshri, he says maybe pshat's like this. Mishum, since the ben noyach osur lara geubrim, since a ben noyach is not allowed to kill a fetus and he gets killed for it, so even though she'yisrael eino neregal, even though a yid doesn't get killed for it, the fact that goy does shows how serious abortion is. Although the yid doesn't get killed, it's still extremely serious. You need the reason of roidef, even though the mishmaya karodfula. You need to be able to say that even though it's from heaven, the baby still categorized something as a roidef, or else you wouldn't be able to kill the baby to save the mother. What's Rabbi Akiva Eger answering? Saying like this. The Rambam says, even if the baby's not a nefesh before it's born, the fact that goy gets killed for it shows how serious abortion is. A yid is off the hook for a technicality because the pasuk's whatever. Somehow we learn a yid is potter, but it's still it's a heinous act, and therefore you can't just say let me kill the baby and save the mother because the baby is not a nefesh. Not enough of a reason. You have to be able to say it's a bissel roidef. It's a bissel of a roidef. Once the baby's born, though, it's a full nefesh. It's not a real roidef. It's only a bissel of a roidef. It's not enough to kill it once it's born. It is enough to kill it while it's in utero. That is what Rabbi Akiva Eger says. Reb Chaim Brisker, in number 10, I didn't put numbers in the second page. Oh wow, was I in a rush? Okay, in number 10 is actually not the Noidi B'Yehuda, it's Reb Chaim Brisker. It's Reb Chaim Brisker. And he says, like, he has the same question. Everybody wants to know what's pshat in this Rambam. Rabbi Kiva Eiger asks, the Noidib Yehuda wants to know, everybody, the Minchas Chinuch asks, everyone is dealing with this Rambam, the Rambam in number 8. Very strange Rambam. So Rabbi Kiva Eiger gave his answer. Rabbi Chaim Brisker says similarly, he says, Vashe Yiro Muchach, but you know what it seems to me? Says Rabbi Chaim Brisker like this. There's a din Rodef, and then there's a chiyuv Rodef. Din Rodef means someone is categorized as a Rodef, which sets in a halacha that you get killed in order to save the person that you're trying to kill. But what about the fact of ein doichin nefesh mipnei nefesh? You can't kill one person to save another. The whole din of Rodef runs in the face of ein doichin nefesh mipnei nefesh. Reuven's running after Shimon to kill him, and you're the observer. Kill Reuven to save Shimon. Why? Who said Shimon's blood is redder than Reuven? The whole din of Rodef is you are playing, you are acting as God, you are choosing, you're choosing who should die and who should survive. Reuven wants to kill Shimon, I'm going to kill Reuven. To save Shimon's life, ein doichin nefesh mipnei nefesh. The Sefer HaChinuch says, the Shloim HaMelech says, Holikim yivakesh es ha-nirdef. The Eibishter seeks out the nirdef, the one being pursued. The Sefer HaChinuch says like this, when Reuven's running to kill Shimon, you know what Reuven is muttering on his lips? He's probably swearing, right? He's probably screaming. You know what Shimon's muttering on his lips? He's saying, God help me. He's saying, God help me. So therefore, says the Sefer HaChinuch, the Eibishter wants to answer Shimon's prayer. So the Eibishter gave a halacha that any observer has the obligation to knock off Reuven to save Shimon, because Shimon is reaching out to Hashem and Hashem wants to respond. That's the Sefer HaChinuch's explanation. Chaim Brisker wants to know, but legally, how do you explain the din of Rodef in the face of ein doichin nefesh mipnei nefesh? So the Chaim says like this: din Rodef means you're categorized as a Rodef. Once you're categorized as a Rodef, there's something called a chiyuv Rodef that takes effect. There's an obligation. The chiyuv Rodef means because you're pursuing him, you lose the right that would usually be granted by the argument of ein doichin nefesh mipnei nefesh. He calls that the chiyuv of Rodef, that you bring this upon yourself, you can't blame him, you brought this upon yourself. Says Reb Chaim like this: a baby always is categorized as a Rodef. It's a din Rodef. The fact is, it's putting the mother is dying because of the baby. It's categorized as a Rodef. But you can't say the baby is a chiyuv, it brings upon itself, because it's not its fault. It has a din Rodef, but not a chiyuv Rodef. He says, when you have a din Rodef, it runs against the issue of ein doichin nefesh mipnei nefesh. In order to override that, you need to come to the chiyuv Rodef. A baby never has the chiyuv Rodef, only the din Rodef. So that does get knocked off by the argument of ein doichin nefesh mipnei nefesh. But that only applies once the baby's a nefesh and it's born. While the baby's in utero, it's not a nefesh. You can't scream, how could you kill one to save another? The baby's not a nefesh, the mother is. And the baby's din Rodef is enough to kill the baby. Once the baby's born, it's a full nefesh. So ein doichin nefesh runs. I don't care you categorize it as a Rodef. You can't kill one to save another. And you can't give it the chiyuv Rodef that we usually give because it's mishamai, it's not its fault. That's Reb Chaim's lumdus. Let's just read it inside. I hope I'm doing justice to what he says. Yes.
Earlier we were talking about a malach teaching the whole Torah to without a nefesh. Is teaching in Torah with no nefesh?
That's a good question. Very good question. So hold on. There are some that believe that the Rambam Taka holds that the baby in the stomach is a nefesh, and that's why the Rambam writes in number 8, the reason you kill the baby because it's a Rodef. There are some that learn the Rambam in number 8. You learn like this: it's only considered natural if the mother's life is in jeopardy once the baby's actually exiting the body. That's when it's naturally a danger. Any danger that happens before then really shouldn't be happening, and therefore you can't say it's tivoi shalom. If you learn the Rambam that way, it means the Rambam holds the baby's equally a nefesh before it comes out or after. The difference is when it's a Rodef. It's a Rodef dafka before it comes out, because you can't say not every childbirth is the mother in danger before the baby is leaving. When could you say it's natural? Only once the baby's actually exiting the body. Now, if you learn that way, means the Rambam argues on everything we've said, he holds it is a nefesh. The problem is, if that's b'chlal logical to say that the danger is only after the head is out, what's that supposed to mean? So much of the danger is when the baby's trying to get the head out. It really,
because
it really doesn't. You can't really learn the Rambam.
When the fetus is in trouble, you have no option. Back in those days, you had no ability to do anything about it except terminate. But once
the child's if is considered a rodef, is it considered natural and expected? Is it considered expected for the mother to be having jeopardizing trouble before the baby sticks the head out? Some want to say that's the Rambam's distinction. I don't see it. One?
When labor starts.
Oh, so that's in number one. The Gemara said clearly in number one, the moment the baby starts to move, it's already a gufa acharin. It's a different body.
Before the head's out?
Yeah, exactly. That's part of the issue. Number one, the Gemara in Erchin, when the woman starts to have labor, you don't kill her, you wait. Why? So there you would say it loses the status of being uber yerechim, being a limb of the mother. But is it considered a nefesh? It's a limb, but not the mother's. But is it considered a nefesh? You don't know.
And the Rambam says
Rashi says until it goes la'avira olam. What the Ram does say kireid, right. So that's exactly. So that gives room to. So join me in Reb Chaim Brisker in number 10. It's really gewaldig. Vashi says, I think pshat's like this. The be'emes, even though it comes from heaven, mikol makom, you can't remove from the uber etzem din rodef. The baby is still categorized as a rodef, even though it's coming from heaven. The fact is, he's putting the mother in danger. He has a din rodef. He says the problem's like this. Be'emes, it's true that the ikr of din rodef teaches you to kill the rodef and save the nirdef. But mikol makom, what about the fact of ein doichen nefesh mipnei nefesh? Doesn't that not killing one to save the other runs in the face of rodef? So he says there's a chiyuv of the rodef. The chiyuv of the rodef is you brought this upon yourself that you lost the right to the argument of ein doichen nefesh. But for that to say the baby is coming, it's natural, it's coming from heaven, removes the chiyuv of rodef, only the din of rodef. Okay, and listen, he says what we just said before, we won't even read the rest inside. That when the baby's inside the stomach, it has a din of a rodef. Now, din of a rodef would usually be enough to kill it to save the other one, if not for the fact of ein doichen nefesh mipnei nefesh, but it's not a nefesh yet before it's born. After it's born, ein doichen nefesh says you can't kill the baby to save the mother. Usually the chiyuv of rodef would knock off that argument, but you can't give a chiyuv rodef here because this whole thing is just natural occurrences. Fine. Go on the next page. The top right-hand side is the Noid Yehuda. And the Noid Yehuda gives almost the same answers as Rabbi Kiva Eger and the Chaim Brisker. Look at this top right-hand side. Al Kopanim, it's also to kill the baby unless he would be considered somewhat of a rodef. That's why the Rambam had to say he's kur rodef. The Noid says the same thing, that if the baby would not be considered a rodef at all, you wouldn't be able to kill the baby to save the mother, even when the baby's inside the stomach. An argument of the people says, wait a second. Usually you can't kill someone else to save yourself, because who said your blood is redder than his? But the mother's blood is more red than the baby's blood. How do I know? So if you say the baby's not a nefesh, for sure, the mother's blood is redder. It is redder. But I'll tell you even better. Even if the baby is a nefesh, abortion does not carry capital sentence. A yid doesn't get killed for abortion. If you would kill the mother, you would get killed. If Yankel Shmerel would come and kill the mother, he would get killed. If he would kill the baby, he wouldn't get killed. So the fact that the mother's death is considered a capital crime means her blood is redder than her fetus's blood. Because if someone killed the fetus, the fact is he wouldn't get killed. So the shaila is that that's it. So if the baby's putting the mother's life in danger, kill the baby because the mother's blood is redder. So the Noidibud is saying over here, he doesn't like that argument. He says, in the letter he says, what about a Treifa? Someone's going to die within 12 months from a mortal wound. The Rambam Paskin we saw before, if Yankel Shmerel kills, not Yankel, if Beryl kills a Treifa, you don't kill Beryl, right? That's the halacha. If you kill a treifa, you don't get killed. So what if a guy came to Beryl and said, kill the treifa or I'll kill you? Beryl will say, I'm going to kill the treifa because my blood is redder than his. You know why? Because if someone would kill me, they would get killed. If someone kills Beryl, they don't get killed. That means my blood is richer, has more value. So says the Nabi Yehuda, Loi Shamanu, never heard such a thing that you'd be allowed to do that. The Minchas Chinuch Take entertains such a svara. The Minchas Chinuch entertains a svara you'd be allowed to kill a treifa in order to save your life, because your life is more red than the treifa. He says though, because he thinks a treifa is not considered a nefesh either. The Minchas Chinuch thinks that a treifa is not considered a nefesh. And whenever you're a nefesh and he's not a nefesh, it means your blood is redder, and you're allowed to kill that person to save your life. But the Nabi Yehuda says, Loi shamanu ma'olam, to be allowed to kill a treifa to save your life. Even if the treifa is a nefesh, but your blood is still redder, hooray, if someone would kill you, they would get the death penalty, and not if they killed the treifa. But the Nabi Yehuda says, that doesn't give you the right to go ahead actively and kill the treifa just because of that logic. Shev al ta'asa adif, better just to be passive. The Nabi doesn't think you can use that reasoning that your blood is redder because you come with a price tag of a death penalty to get up and actively kill a treifa to save your life. So too by the Uber. What gives the doctor or anyone the right to kill the Uber to save the mother? Just because the Uber's blood is less red, hooray, if someone kills it, there's no death penalty. Or you want to go further and say it's not a nefesh. Still, be passive, be passive. What right do you have to be active? That's why the Rambam had to say he's a little bit of a Rodef, in order to justify why you're allowed to kill the baby. It's Rodef. Once the baby's born, it's a full-fledged baby, now you can't kill it, because it's not really a Rodef, it was only Rodef. The Pel is, look on the left-hand side, of the top left-hand side, the Nabi Yehuda says that you ask on the Rambam, that the Rambam considers the baby before it's born like a Rodef, and after the head's out it's not, because it's nature. Vadover Tamu, it's a wonder, because even before the baby's head's out, it's also nature. Hine said, I don't know, Akati loinis paralis, I don't have an answer to this Rambam, and to give a doichadika answer, all the people before me have done that anyhow, and therefore I have nothing to add to the subject. Pile ploim. This is the end of the letter. The Nabi Yehuda ends the letter saying, I don't know how to answer that contradiction in the Rambam. What do you mean? He just answered a few paragraphs before. He gave a very good answer. You're not really a Rodef. It's Rodef, Taka. Both after the head comes out and before it's considered nature. You're not really a Rodef. You're only somewhat of a Rodef. The somewhat of a Rodef is enough to kill the baby when it's not fully a nefesh. You need both. It's not fully a nefesh and it's somewhat of a Rodef. Once the baby comes out, it's a full nefesh. So the Rodef won't help you anymore. He answered it mamish in a couple paragraphs before. I have no way how to explain. He gave the same answers Rabbi Kiva Eger. He gave the same answers Rabbi Chaim Brisker. And then at the end he says, I have no way of answering. No, it sounds like that he didn't answer the question. I don't know. To me,
Isn't there another...
He should have said, I already gave something before. We're not Dover Tamua. He already addressed it earlier. Yeah, what?
Isn't there another problem? I mean, we're talking about when the baby is already at the birth.
Yeah.
It's the birth. So now, the only thing that implies that it's the birthing process, because once the baby is out, it doesn't risk the life of the mother in any way, shape, or form.
Okay.
So it's only, we're talking about only the process of birth. Is that
yes.
Is that what we're talking about?
Yes, okay. Yeah. Okay, hold on. So this is the Rambam. So we're talking about abortion, okay? Until now, we've seen that if a Yid commits abortion, he's potter. The most go with the explanation, it's because the fetus is not a nefesh. It's not a nefesh. What does it mean it's not a nefesh? It's not a human being. Does that mean it's not alive? It's alive, but it's not a human being. So then what is it? The Maharam Shik, who was a great student of the Chassam Sofer, believes abortion is considered Chatzi Shiur. The Torah says you're not allowed to eat pork, right? And if you eat a kazayas, you get whipped. What about half a kazayas? Debate Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish. Reish Lakish said it's only rabbinic. The halacha follows Rabbi Yochanan, even less than the amount is awesome in Torah. You won't get punished until you do the full amount. Says the Madam Shik, there are different types of Chatzi Shiur. You see, by the pig, the pork, you're literally eating pork, just didn't have enough. You have to have some more. But there's other types of Chatzi Shiur where, for example, for a man to be with a woman, to cohabit with a woman who carries chorus to him, to actually have full-fledged relations carries chorus. But what about preliminary actions? What about chibuk, hugging, and these types of things? A big debate between the Rambam and the Ramban. The Rambam holds any woman that cohabitation carries chorus, all preliminary actions carry malchus. The Ramban holds no, all preliminary actions are only rabbinic. That's the Ramban. But the Ramban in his discussion mentions a possibility, maybe the preliminary actions are considered Chatzi Shiur of the cohabitation. You can have different types of Chatzi Shiur that you not just half an ounce of pork, but the action is half qualitatively of what the full action would be. So the Madam Shik says he thinks that a fetus is halfway towards life. Maybe it's half a nefesh. It's not a full nefesh, it's half a nefesh. And therefore killing it is Chatzi Shiur. Now we paskin like Rabbi Yochanan that Chatzi Shiur is biblically prohibited. But it's not enough to get punished. That's why he holds it's awesome in our Torah for a yid to commit abortion. It's biblical. According to the Madam Shik, it's awesome in our Torah for a yid to commit abortion, but there's no punishment. You don't get killed. Why? Chatzi Shiur. That's his take. The great Maharit, Rabbi Yosef Trani, one of the greatest poskim, passed away in the early 1600s or 1630s. The Maharit is probably the most lenient on abortion. The Maharit holds abortion has nothing to do with murder at all. It's b'chlal, not murder. It's not even that category. What is it? It's choivel begufa. It's harming yourself. You're not allowed to harm yourself. Someone punches you, someone severs a limb of yours, you have to pay for it. That's why in the case in Mishpatim of the two men in the fist fight and they abort a woman's pregnancy, they have to pay. It's just a limb. Abortion is chavala, it's choivel begufay, it's harming yourself. You can't do it to someone else, you can't do it to yourself. A doctor can't do it because he's literally harming part of the woman. And so too the woman can't do it to herself because she's choivel begufa, she's harming herself. The reason why this is the most lenient approach is because very often you're allowed to harm yourself. Plastic surgery, you're getting surgery and things that you're getting cut and everything to rebuild the parts of the face. The heter to allow it is that if you're cutting yourself in order to beautify yourself, it's not called choivel. It's called mesakin. Choivel means I'm damaging. But if what I'm doing is actually rectifying my body, it's not choivel, it's mesakin. I'm rectifying the body. And that's a justification for many things we do. There are many times that you cut off part of the body for the benefit of the body. So according to the Ma'arit, if a woman is having issues, if a woman is suffering a lot of pain, it would be allowed to do abortion. And that explains Rivkah's shaila. According to the Ma'arit, Rivkah's shaila to Shem makes a lot of sense. Because if you pull out part, if someone, God forbid, has a finger which is giving them tremendous pain, and they can't, you'd be allowed to amputate them. You may not want to, but you'll be allowed to. It's not called choivel, you're enhancing your body. So that would be the biggest leniency for abortion is the Ma'arit. Okay, that's one thing. And many people.
How long?
So that's the thing. So the poskim do differentiate.
It raises the question of when you harm your body, your limb.
The Gemara says you're not allowed to harm your limb stam hazay. Your body's not yours, it's God's.
But
continue.
Exactly. So, but when you're doing it to a fetus, now you are declaring that the fetus is your limb. Remember, we had the debate: is it your limb or not?
Fine. We're going to assume for this year the discussion of uber yerech ima, if the baby is the part of is the baby separate from the mother, or a limb of the mother's body.
It's not the baby.
Thank you. The fetus is it's discussed in many places in Gemara. It's a big sugya on its own, and it's relevant to many areas of halacha. For this shiur, we assumed from the Gemara in Erchin that it is yerechimai. The Gemara says it's chad gufa, so we're just assuming that. So we're going with that opinion now. Fine. And this ma'arit is quoted, the poskim. There are many poskim. Those that want to be more lenient on abortion will definitely quote this ma'arit as part of the discussion to say that according to him, if there's good reason, then as long as you can say that she's enhancing her body and not being chayvul, it would be okay. Another very important opinion on the matter is the Chavas Yoyer. Rabbi Yoyer Chaim Bachrach was a big Rav in Germany. Passes away in 1702. He was in Mainz and Worms. He was considered one of the most brilliant scholars of his day. And Rabbi Yoyer Chaim Bachrach, he has tshuvas called the Chavas Yoyer. And in a letter, he was asked about a woman, a married woman who had committed adultery, and she finds out that she's carrying a baby. And she was horrified, and she went to her rabbi, how could I do tshuva? She was asking for a path of tshuva, and also asking if she's allowed to abort the baby. So the Chavas Yoyer first says, he's a little incredulous, well, this woman had no problem being mazan, and all of a sudden she wants a path of tshuva. Does she want to really abort because of tshuva, or she just doesn't want to carry that baby? Tshuva, is that real such a change of heart, or it's just inconvenient for her to have that baby? But he has a famous letter, and the Chavas Yoyer has a very important opinion. He believes abortion is not murder either. It's Zara Levatala. This is a very, very important shitta. He believes, what's b'chlal the issue with Zara Levatala, someone wasting their seed? The Gemara says that wasting seed is like murder. It's like shoifech damim because it's all potential life. It's all potential life. Says the Chavas Yoyer, there's nothing closer to potential life than a fetus in the mother's womb. It's the ultimate hashchosas zera. It's the ultimate destruction of seed. That's his take on the matter. Which is very interesting because when it comes to destroying seed, what's the deal with women? Are women allowed to destroy the zera of the husband? Let's say a man, he inserts his zera into a woman, and she wants to get rid of the zera, and that it should just leave her in ichves, and dispel the zera. Is it an issue? So there's a very interesting debate between Rashi and Rabbeinu Tam. Look on the bottom right-hand side of the page. I'm sorry, on the second page, on the right-hand side, the third paragraph. Rabbeinu Tam and the Treifa in Yavamis. The Gemara there is talking about a woman using a moich, a type of a contraceptive. She sticks something inside of her to absorb the zera she shouldn't conceive. And the Gemara says with 3 women you could use a moich. If the girl is a ketana, she's young, dangerous for her to conceive, or if she's pregnant, she could use it, or if she's nursing. 3 women. Rashi and Rabbeinu Tam have a very interesting argument. Rabbeinu Tam Omer, Delifnei tashmish vaday aser liten sham moich. For the woman to place it there before the cohabitation is aser, because the ein derech tashmish bekach. Because then when the husband releases his zera, he said it's like matel zera al eitzim v'avim. It's like casting your seed on wood and on rocks. If the woman has that cloth inside of her, then for the husband it's a problem. So therefore, when the husband releases the zera, she can't have that cloth. But afterwards, she wants to put in after to absorb the zera in order that she shouldn't conceive. I don't think it's a problem at all. Because the man did nothing wrong. He did the normal way. It's just like if she's a girl or an island. The man knows the woman's not going to conceive. What if a man is together with a young girl who can't conceive, or an island woman can't conceive? It's not also to have tashmish with them because they can't have children, as long as you're with them in the normal way. So too here with the man's wife, if later on she wants to use tactics to remove the zera, that's not the husband's problem. What about the woman? How is she allowed to? She puts in the moich, lo yehuzra, a woman is not warned on ashchas zera. Says Rabbeinu Tam, a woman has no problem to destroy seed. Why? Because loy mifkada pirya v'rivya, a woman has no mitzvah to have kids. Rabbeinu Tam holds, you know what the issue of wasting seed is? It's the flip side of pru revu. It's not that wasting seed is considered murder. If wasting seed is murder, so then a woman's no different than a man. No, wasting seed because it could have been used for pru revu. Halachically, a woman has no mitzvah. Rabbi Yochanan ben Breker, there was one opinion in Gemara says women have a chiyuv to have kids. The halacha follows everybody else. A woman has no chiyuv of pru revu. Rabbeinu Tam holds destroying seed is the flip side of the coin of pru revu. Women don't have a chiyuv to have kids. They have no issue to destroy seed, which means any woman is allowed to actually use a moich. So why does the Gemara say only 3 women? The katana and the pregnant woman and the woman nursing, they need to use a moich, says Rabbeinu Tam. A regular woman doesn't need, but she could. That's Rabbeinu Tam's opinion.
I don't understand.
Rashi holds a regular woman is not allowed to do this. And it's not just Rashi, Ramban. The Ramban, I think, is the famous Rishon who really argues with this Rabbeinu Tam. The Ramban holds Zara Levatala is not the flip side of Pru Revu. The Ramban says Pru Urevu and Zara Levatala not related. Zara Levatala is because of murder. It's because of murder. The Gemara says, like, and for a woman, Shoyfech Damim is just as severe as it is by a man. The Ramban says, therefore, a woman is not chayiv in Pru Revu. Granted, it's also for her to waste, to destroy seed. Rabbeinu Tam allows it. Now hold on a second. What about Goyim? What about Goyim? Are Goyim chayiv in Pru Urevu? So look at on the right, on the left side of that. Taisus is vadibur maskul v'hapirya v'rivya. Says Taisus, Tema, minalon. How do I know that Goyim don't have to have kids? Deloy nemru lebnei noach. How do you know that Goyim don't have a mitzvah of Pru Revu? Now, simply we have a rule. It's only mentioned in Chumash before Matan Torah. Any mitzvah that's only mentioned once before Matan Torah and not repeated again, there's only one obligation, so it applies to the Yidden and not to the Goyim. But Taisus asks, maybe according to a different opinion, who said that Goyim don't have a mitzvah of having kids? I, mishum deloy choshiv lei b'adisheva mitzvahs. I, the Tana, there's a Tana who gives a list and doesn't count Pru Revu in the 7 mitzvahs of Goyim. But we said before, kumasei loy kachoshiv, we only count the things a guy can't do, can't steal, can't eat Evim and Achai. But we're not counting things he has to do. So maybe Taka, a guy is actually chayiv and Pru Revu. Says Taisus no, v'yesh loymar no. The shev v'al tasa namihu. If a guy is chayiv and Pru Revu, it would also include a prohibition. You know which prohibition? Not wasting seed. Because if you're mitzvah al pirya v'rivya, mitzvah shaloi lahash chizera. Right, Rabbeinu Tam holds they come to a package deal. One side of the coin is Pru Revu, the other side is don't waste seed. If a guy is chayiv in Pru Revu, then he would be chayiv in not wasting seed. It would be an aveira like not stealing, not eating Evim and Achai, and yet the Tan and the Brisa doesn't count it there, and therefore we know a guy is potter. So Taisus holds a guy is potter from Pru Revu and also from destroying seed. And a woman's potter from destroying seed. It happens to be there are some who hold that Goyim are chayiv in Pru Revu. The Sheiltus, the great Sheiltus, one of the earliest Sfarim written after the Gemara, Rav Achoy Goan, he writes that Goyim are chayiv in Pru Revu. Rabbi Yosef Engel in his Gulyoynei Ashas in the beginning of Chagiga, Beis Amud Beis, brings a number of opinions who say that Goyim are in fact chayiv and Pru Revu, which would mean according to Rabbeinu Tam, they're also chayiv in not destroying their seed. Taisus himself says clearly they're potter. Why am I bringing this up? Because here's the issue. The Chavas Yor says, what is abortion? It's destroying seed. It's hashchasa zera. But according to him, that means, first of all, a woman who's not chayiv in destroying seed, according to Rabbeinu Tam, would be allowed to do abortion. According to the Chavis Yoyer, if you link him with Rabbeinu Tam, since Rabbeinu Tam says a woman is not chayiv in prudavu, is also not chayiv in destroying their seed, it wouldn't be a problem for a woman to commit an abortion. For a male, it's a problem, because it's the flip side of prudavu. And therefore, for a male, can't destroy seed, which would mean that if a woman wants an abortion, she should go to a female doctor, a Jewish female doctor, or she could do it herself. Unless the Chavis Shiur happens to hold like the Rambam, who says, we don't say it's the two flip sides of the coin, and we say that women are chayiv in destroying seed like a man because it's murder. But that's one thing that would come out. The other thing is about goyim. According to the Chavis Shiur, abortion's only wasting seed. How ironic is it? Tosfos holds that goyim aren't warned on wasting seed, and they dafka get killed for abortion. Like the pieces of the puzzle don't match. According to the Chavis Shiur, abortion's wasting seed. Now I understand why a yid doesn't get killed for abortion. A yid never gets killed for wasting seed. In fact, according to some, Zara Levatala is only to Rabbanon. There are some who believe that wasting seed is only an Isser D'Rabbanon. Many hold wasting seeds an Isser D'Oraisa from the fact that Er and Oinon were killed, died because of wasting seed, so it's Isser D'Oraisa. The Zohar is very sharp about wasting seed. We once saw Rabbi Yosef Kair in the Beis Yosef writes that the Ri in Tosfos allows a certain action between the husband and the wife, even if it comes to wasting seed. And the Beis Yosef said if the Ri would have seen what the Zohar says, he never would have written what he wrote. The Zohar holds wasting seed is one of the big three averos that cause all destruction, And the other one is abortion as well. The Zohar is very, very tough about. But some hold wasting seed only to Rabbanon. Those that hold that wasting seed is very serious, they were asked. The Pnei Yeshua in Shiloh Teshuvas Pnei Yeshua, he was asked, if a guy says waste seed or I'll kill you, do you have to take the bullet? So he says, no, don't go so far. You don't have to give up your life. You don't have to give up your life for wasting seed. And wasting seed doesn't come together with a death sentence. So according to the Chavis Yoyer, I understand why if a Yid commits abortion, you don't kill the Yid. Why? Why? Because it's just wasting seed. But how could it be that a guy gets killed for abortion? Tosfos holds that Punkta Goy has no prohibition of wasting seed. Like, how interesting is that? So that's the Maram Shik. But according to the Chavis Shiur, it's not murder at all. It's just wasting seed. Goyim don't have a prohibition. So the truth is that look in the bottom of the page is a Rogatchover. The Rogatchover says, Kain hadin, it's a letter, it's a tshuva. Ba'ashchasad zer, when it comes to destroying seed. He says, B'pashtus ha-Gemara Nida, the Gemara Nida learns from the pasuk Loi Sinaf in Aseret Adibris, not adultery, but Loi Sinaf has a number of meanings. The Gemara says, B'yad, you can't cause yourself to waste seed even using your hand. Says the Rogatchover, there's Beis Gedorim, there's two parts of wasting seed. There's Geder Shfichas Damim and Geder Gilei Arayos. Wasting seed is part of the issue of Gilei Arayos. Wasting seed is part of the issue of murder. It's all potential life. And that's why people even asked hundreds of years ago, maybe if a guy says to do it or I'll kill you, you have to die. Could you imagine? You have to die instead of Zara Levatala. But we said Allah is not like that. It's not mamish, Gilei Arayos or murder, but it has these two inyanim. Go a couple lines later. The third to last line, V'ayim b'taisis anhedrin un testament beis gabi ben noyach, says the Rogatchover, you know what the Rogatchover believes? He thinks a ben noyach is not allowed to waste seed because it's no different than a fetus that a ben noyach is muzar tfei Yisrael. The Rogatchover is basically asking our question but saying taka the other way around. The Rogatchover says, since a goy gets killed for destroying a fetus, right? And according to the Chavis Shiur, that's Zara Levatala, it's wasting seed. It must be a guy's also to waste seed. It must be. No, he says just fakir to Taisus. It must be taka. A goy is not allowed to destroy seed. How come the Tana doesn't mention in the Brisa? It's there. It's an abortion. It's part of abortion. Abortion is the greatest case of wasting seed. According to Chavis Yair, abortion is because it's destroying seed. That's the issue behind it. So we count a guy is killed for abortion, which included in that is the fact he can't waste seed. Now, does it mean a guy gets killed for Zara Levatala? The Rogat Shava doesn't say clearly that he gets killed for Zara Levatala, but he does say a guy should be prohibited for Zara Levatala. He does say that. The question is why he should be killed. You'll say Zara Levatala is Chatzi Shiur of abortion. By Goyim, there's no din of Shiurim by Goyim, so if they're not allowed, there should be. So it's very, very, very interesting. Once you go down this path of the Chavis Yair, it opens up a whole different discussion. And it also does make it more lenient. If it's not murder, but just Zara Levatala, murder, if it's murder, it's a capital crime, but for some reason you don't get killed. If it's only Zara Levatala, it's a weaker crime. Zara Levatala, because no one says you have to die instead of giving off Zara Levatala. When it comes to abortion, I'll mention soon, there might be a svara to say you have to die instead of doing abortion because it's a case of murder. You don't get killed for doing it, but it's under the umbrella of murder. So the Chavis Yair would be not as lenient as the Ma'arit, but still a bit of a lenient approach to allow, especially if you learn like Rabbeinu Tam, that women b'chlal aren't chayiv in hashchas zera. Abortion should be mutter for a woman. There's a very important letter of Rabbi Yaakov Emden. I don't have it on the page. Okay, we're going to finish. I'm going to finish just a moment. Rabbi Yaakov Emden has an incredible letter. There was a woman who was mezana. A woman was mezana, and she conceived a baby, and she wanted to terminate the baby. A married woman. She has a mamzer. Rabbi Yaakov Emden paskins she's allowed to abort. Why? Said Rabbi Yaakov Emden, this woman committed adultery. Adultery is a capital crime. If you would have a bezdin, then you would kill her. Not just her, also the baby, right? We saw in number 1, you kill the woman and the baby. You kill them both. Nowadays, we don't have a bezdin, but you're allowed to administer to yourself the punishment bezdin would have given you. We discussed this once in the Shiur about suicide. According to the Chidah, according to the Shavus Yankiv, according to Rabbi Yaakov Emden, you're allowed to administer to yourself the punishment Bezdin would have given for the sake of tshuva. They learn it from a story in Ksuvas when Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi passed away. A bas kol came out and said, anyone that was there by the funeral, go straight to heaven. There was a certain laundryman, a koivus, who wasn't there, and he heard about it, such a missed opportunity. He went on top of a roof and he jumped off and killed himself. And the Gemara says he was rewarded. So that means you're allowed to kill yourself if it's for the sake of tshuva. The problem is the Shavus Yankiv seems to hold that only works if you violated a crime that carries a death penalty. If you violated other averis, you don't have the right to kill yourself. It's only if you violate a crime that carries a death penalty, then you can administer it to yourself. Right, or you had other crimes. So the truth is, there's a Yerushalmi that says that story, the laundryman, that Shabbos had broken Shabbos. So he killed himself for breaking Shabbos. But it is possible, the Shvus Yankov says it is possible, that even if you didn't do a crime that carries a death penalty, the fact that you're doing it for the sake of tshuva allows it. It's incredible. Rabbi Yaakov Emden in one place says it could be that the guy accidentally fell off the roof, this laundryman. He didn't jump, he fell off the roof. What?
He's not doing it to himself, he's doing it to the baby.
Oh, so back to Rabbi Yaakov Emden's letter, in letter 43, says Rabbi Yaakov Emden says, if you did violate a crime that carries a death penalty, you're allowed to administer it to yourself, no problem. Which means she's allowed to kill herself and the baby, because Bezdin would have killed them both. So she's allowed to kill herself and the baby. So if she wants, she could just kill the baby. He says, not only you're allowed, I think it's a mitzvah. He said it's a mitzvah to do it.
She can only kill the baby if she kills herself.
No. You're allowed to do both. So she just wants to do one. You can't do one. She's allowed to do it.
So he passes that way?
Yes, he paskins that way. And he says the funny thing is, now listen to this. It only works if if the woman did it willingly. If a woman would be raped, she wouldn't be allowed to kill the mamzer. Because she has no right, there's no avera here. Usually you say if a woman's raped, she has a right to kill the baby, she doesn't want it. Rabbi Yaakov Emden flips it on his head. Only if it was willingly, because then she could do it out of tshuva. But if she was raped, she has to keep the baby.
The baby would have only been killed if she was killed. That means she could choose now to just kill the baby and not kill herself.
Just do half.
It's not like Bezdin would only kill the baby and not
Doesn't matter, but they would kill both. So why if she wants to stay alive? It's either all or nothing. So why is it all or nothing?
I'm just saying, because
all or
she
nothing.
would do what Bezdin would have done.
She is, partly. Part of what they would have done. Bezdin would give you 39 malchus. I can only handle 10. So you take 10. You're doing part of what Bezdin did. So that's Rabbi Yankee. It's a whopper of a tshuva, right?
Given only 10 malchus because they only give you what you can handle.
No, Bezdin would have given me 39. I'm stopping at 10 because I don't want to do the 11. So I shouldn't do it at all. It's still something. So here's the thing. Let's just finish this off. So you have these shittas. You have the Chavas Yor says Levatala. You have the Marit who just said it's chayvel. In more recent times, all the Rabbanim are dealing with these questions of abortion, right? And those that want to be makel, they marshal the Maharit, they marshal the Chavas Yor, they even marshal Rabbi Yaakov Emden, because Rabbi Yaakov Emden also says other things. Rabbi Yaakov Emden says, the baby, who said it's viable? Who said this baby would have gone to full term? We said if a baby went to full term and was born, if you kill it, you get killed. But you don't know this baby would have gone to full term. So there's lots of sfeikus. The Tzitz Eliezer of Waldenberg was known to be more lenient. He did allow, if a woman was carrying a child which the doctors can see will carry a horrible illness, that the baby will suffer for years until it passes away, he said the okay. He gave the okay. He says killing an uber is not murder. It's not murder. It's not murder. It's marid, the Chavas Yor, this and that. He says, you're not allowed to do it stamazoi. But when there's a very compelling reason, for example, the kid's going to suffer horribly, then you're allowed to do it. Apparently he was asked even about Down syndrome, and he said that you got to take to the biggest Rabbonim and discuss it. The heter would be not to save the child from pain, because you don't know that it's going to have, but the parents, the amount of pain and suffering, if it's going to cause such anguish that the parents could go nuts, then it could be okay as well. Reb Moshe Feinstein, Reb Avadia Yosef, all the poskim really, there's so much to talk about, but Reb Moshe Feinstein was well known for his take to be extremely machmir. Reb Moshe Feinstein goes not like the Chavas Yor or the Maharit. He goes with the opinions that it's mamish murder. You don't get killed. You have the Maram Shik because it's Chatzi Shiur, or there's other reasons you don't get killed, because we don't know for sure that the baby Taka would have been viable. Taka, you killed the baby 7 months. Who said the baby would have, it could have been a Nefel. You don't know for sure. Once a baby's born at full term, then we say, even if you kill it on one day, all this is going to last. And you get killed for that. Before then, you can't know for sure. So you can't kill the guy. But Reb Moshe says he feels it's under the umbrella of murder. And therefore, he's very, very machmir. It was known if you had a child and abortion, you didn't go to Reb Moshe Feinstein. To him, he was very machmir. You went to the other Rabbanim. But I just want to end with this, that there was a story that happened with a German officer and a Jewish woman. Now, you would assume it happened in World War II. I saw somewhere it happened in World War I, so I'm not sure which year it happened. I saw different sources. The issue was there was a German officer who impregnated a Jewish woman. And he did not want to have a Jewish child, so he forced the woman to go to get an abortion. She comes to the clinic, it's a Jewish doctor. Not Stam a Jewish doctor, a guy that cares about halacha. She says, I need an abortion. Why? She said, I don't want this child. He said, I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm not allowed to do it. So the woman left the appointment. So her German friend asked her what's going on. She said the clinic wouldn't do it. He says, leave it to me. He comes to the clinic. He basically takes a revolver, puts it to the head of the guy, and the Jewish doctor, he says, it's either you or the baby, or both. He says, do the abortion or I'll kill you. So Shaila is, are you allowed to kill the baby, the fetus, in order to save yourself? According to the Chavis Yor, you definitely can. You're destroying Zara. We said the halach is you're allowed to be motzi your own Zara Levatala in order not to die. That's what the place can paskin. According to the Ma'arit, you're stam harming her. For sure, you're allowed to. You're allowed to do that to save your life. You're harming someone else, but she wants it. If the other party, now, if you're allowed to stam cut off someone's hand to save your life, probably not. You're not allowed to do it. But if the other person is okay with it, then you'd be allowed to. But if it's murder, are you allowed to kill to go the abortion to save your life? So you'll say, well, maybe my blood is redder than the fetus because if someone kills me, they would get killed. If you kill the baby, you don't get killed. Rav Moshe Feinstein puts that argument forward. The very fact if you kill the baby, you don't get killed means your blood is redder than the fetus's blood. For sure, if you say the fetus is not a nefesh. But the Noid Yehuda we saw at the top of the page says no. He says by the baby and the mother, you have to be able to explain why the baby is somewhat of a Rodef. It's not, or else you can't actively kill it just because it's not a nefesh. Well, that was the Noid Yehuda's take. I said that the Minchas Chinuch seems to argue, and not just that, the Proshas Drachim writes, when Paroi told Miriam and Yocheved, I want you to kill the Jewish fetuses, he told them to kill it in utero. Why? What was the lumdus? Because he said, I'll kill you if you don't kill them. He knew once the babies were born, they would never do it. They can't kill the babies to save their life, but they're allowed to commit abortion. You're allowed to commit abortion to save your life. Your blood is redder. So, there's an interesting discussion. But Rav Moshe seems to say you'd be allowed to kill the baby to save your life because your blood is redder by the very fact that if someone kills you, they would get killed if someone kills the baby, the fetus not. But it's still under the umbrella of murder. Rav Moshe takes a very stringent view on it. Now, I had a couple taisus over here, but we've come to the end of the block. So, any practical questions about this, take it to a highly competent Rav. And it's just important to know the background and the logics and the arguments. But everyone agrees that this issue needs to be taken with the utmost severity. It's incredible that there were some Democrats that said that you know why the pandemic came, you know why there was a plague, it's all because of the views because we had the president in office, it's the views of the Republicans. The truth is the Zohar says just the opposite. The Zohar says, you know why plagues come to the world? It's because of abortions. It's because of kids. It's because of kids being killed, which is their side of the coin. So it's incredible. People ask, how is it that Trump got so many more votes? I would say it's all the babies. It's all the babies crying from the grave. It's all the babies crying from the grave. Anyhow, we'll end over here.